Hello everyone, this is Rexer of the YouTube and Twitch channel NotQuiteThereGaming, bringing you another Warframe guide. This one is going to be about Mag Prime, though you probably can't tell judging by the awesome zebra coloring I gave her. Mag is a fairly old Warframe. I'm sorry to say that about a lady, but it's accurate. She is also a Warframe that I have built before and that I have played a lot before, so hopefully this guide will be a bit shorter than the Frost guide, which went way too long. Let's see though. Now, first of all, we need to discuss Mag's ability mods. Specifically, the mutator, the ability augment mod, Shield Transference. Shield Transference is a shield polarized augment, creates a small shield dome around Mag that protects for a percentage of depleted enemy shields. You can find a lot of details about this on the wiki, and I do always suggest that you go to the Warframe wiki and read up on the Warframes, on the mods that I present here. See where you can get them, etc, etc. Shield Transference has a lot of interesting info on the wiki already. What I will add to it though is Shield Transference does not make you invincible. Let me underline that again. Shield Transference does not make that invincible. After you read the wiki, you will see specifically why. Now, maybe I should just reiterate one part of that. In certain positions, parts of Mag stick out from the shield itself. Now, that is entirely accurate as it is written on the wiki. The thing that I want to underline regarding this is that if you are doing slides, your leading foot will go out of the shield, and your head is at the very edge of the shield. So that's visually. Practically, I can say that during slide maneuvers, you are vulnerable to enemy fire even with the shield from Shield Transference up. I personally recommend that when you want to get somewhere fast, you just run, you just jog there. When you have Shield Transference up and you are in an enemy fire condition. Even running may put some parts of you out there for being shot at, so be very careful. The only really safe positions I would say are walking and just sitting there, just standing. Now, also, Shield Transference gives you a very big shield, which sadly you can't verify the amount of. However, enemies such as bombards in higher waves of Tower 4 defense, bombards, which I keep mentioning a lot, will do incredible amounts of damage, and I'm not sure if it's a snow globe symptom, as in the AoE does not get stopped by your shield and it still goes through, or it's simply that when I've been facing bombards at those levels and taking shots from them, they just destroy the shield in one shot. So be very careful when fighting bombards with Mag. Do not rely on the Shield Transference shield. Otherwise, other than these circumstances, I very much recommend this augment mod for Mag. Also, it's very useful because you can, as I said, jog into a nullifier aura and just assassinate the nullifier under its aura, so you don't have to deplete the aura, which makes you very useful for team. Makes your credit to team, as one might say. Now that's about it for the augment mod. I thoroughly recommend that one, Shield Transference. The other mod, Greedy Pull, I haven't looked into because I don't have the relevant syndicates, but I don't think it's that good, so let's skip over it, shall we? Now, Mag, there's pretty much no reason why you should not do Mag Prime, the Mag Prime version, so that's what I chose. I used the immortal skin to give her this wonderful zebra appearance. I don't know why, but I'm sticking with it. So let's take a look at the build. Now the first build of two that I will be showing you is a build that maybe is not the best. It's still acceptable though. Now the idea behind this build is maximum power efficiency, maximum range without having any downsides to it, so no overextended just stretch. We have redirection, we have shield transference, and we have every possible power strength mod. Now this is not probably not the best build because power strength modifies shield polarize in two ways. First one is it modifies the percentage of shields depleted / restored, and the second one is it modifies the multiplier, the damage multiplier for those shields that are depleted. So you have, for example, a 100% shield depletion rate with 500% damage boost to those shields which are depleted. This particular build goes all the way with the damage modifier. Also, it's good for doing high damage crushes and high damage pulls. It also completely destroys any potential of using Bullet Attractor because of the lowered power duration. Why have redirection? As I said, shield transference does not make you immune to everything. It doesn't make you a walking tank, so you will still want some sort of survivability. I might even recommend you take Vitality, because toxic auras from ancient Eximi will still go through the shield transference shield, of course, and they will deplete your health, of which mag starts with not very much. So consider taking redirection, or at least vitality, something, anything. Enemy radar for the aura. Enemy radar is not that useful for mag anymore. It used to be good because you could pull through objects, I do believe, but now not anymore. You can still crush through objects. Yeah, it's a decent choice. You can also go for energy siphon if you want. That's an okay choice, but because of mag's energy pool, you might end up not getting the most out of it because you'll either be maxed or casting. You can also, and I very much recommend, taking corrosive projection. Corrosive projection? Why? Why would I want to take corrosive projection? Well, there's lots of reasons, but specifically for mag, if you are in the void. Now, corpus enemies, which mag is traditionally good against, do not have very good armor scaling. To my knowledge, neither do infested. Infested scale up with a lot of HP. That's traditionally the way it works. I don't know if they changed that since I last bothered to check, but that's traditionally the way it works. And Grenier, however, scale very well with armor. So that's why you usually take corrosive projection, to tackle high-level Grenier targets. And in the void, you will have high-level lancers and heavy gunners. It helps mag because it reduces the enemy armor, so that when she does her shield polarized explosions, those will not be reduced by enemy armor. That's why corrosive projection and a full team of corrosive projection people are very synergetic to mag herself. Now I am going to leave enemy. I'm just going to leave corrosive projection on, and I'm going to show you the second build. So this build is slightly tweaked, and we take primed continuity, and we take transient fortitude maxed, and we take blind rage, rank 4, specifically rank 4 blind rage, because that means that together with transient fortitude we have exactly plus 100% power strength. That is so that you get exactly 100% depleted enemy shields, 100% regenerated friendly shields. That is because you start with 50% depletion and regeneration, and you multiply by the bonus, so plus 100%, so times 2. That's it. That's the way it's calculated. We also have primed continuity to counteract fleeting expertise's effect on Bullet Attractor. This means we will be trying to use Bullet Attractor with this build. Now this is the more tweaky build, and I would recommend this build over the other one. Shield Polarize does good with this build, and you have 65%, not 75%, but 65% power efficiency, which is pretty damn good. The other build is very good for having maximum multiplier for Shield Polarize, and it kind of is supposed to guarantee kills more, but in practical experimentation I have not noticed that big of a difference between this build and that build as far as Shield Polarize is concerned. Of course, for Crush and other things you will do more damage per casting, but with this variant you will be able to do more castings. So I would recommend that you take this type of a build. If you don't want Bullet Attractor at all, switch Blind Rage for Prime Continuity and take Vitality, for instance, which I thoroughly recommend that you invest in some backup survivability to shield transference. And that way you will be able to be a walking tank. Okay? Okay, now let me put my mods back the way I like. Prime Continuity. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the build portion of Mag. Went much faster, I hope, than Frost. Now we'll go into abilities, and I want to talk a little bit more about shield transference as well, shield polarize, everything. If you already know about that, thanks for watching. If not, or if you're just curious if I might have some extra info, please do stick around and watch the abilities section as well. Now we have mags for abilities. Everyone knows them. Everyone knows them, unless you're really new. In which case, pull, shield polarize, bullet attractor, and crush. Now, I do believe Mag is still in the starter lineup, and she is a very good Warframe to pick in the starter lineup, except she is more heavily geared towards fighting corpus enemies. So if you don't know what a corpus enemy is, you might have a difficult time. Value-wise, I would say she is still the best pick in the starter lineup. Not for a starter player though, because starter players won't know where to use her properly. Every one of Mag's abilities do magnetic damage, if I am not terribly mistaken. If not, check on the wiki. It will tell you exactly what sort of damage they do. We have pull. Magnetic force pulls enemies towards you, stunning them and bringing them into melee range. If you're into melee, that last part is actually true. If not, you can just execute them gang style on the ground, which is kind of funny. You can use this mostly as crowd control, and with decent power efficiency like we have in the recommended build for this week, we have good power efficiency, so we can use pull as a crowd control maneuver. You can use it on any faction. It will pull in and knock down any enemy it affects. You have a cone in front of you, and anyway, the details are on the wiki. The basic idea is it does some amount of damage. You can check every damage number for my build on the Warframe Builder link that I will be supplying, which I should have probably said before the build part, so that nobody mistakenly assumes that I formatted my mag all wrong. So there will be Warframe Builder links in the description, and you can check the damage values there. Pull is decent-ish damage, not very. It's mostly crowd control, and it doesn't even pull enemies from behind obstacles anymore, so I don't find myself using it that much. It's nice, it's fun, it's fun. Shield Polarize is the reason why many people use Mag. Shield Polarize is awesome. Now, here's how it works. It depletes enemy shields, it restores friendly shields at the same time. The enemy shields it depletes, it explodes with a particular damage modifier, both affected by power strength. The recommended build has 100% depletion and restoration and 500% damage modifier for the explosions, which is sufficient, I would say. The actual biggest problem you might have with using Shield Polarize is enemies taking damage from sources that are not you. Now, first of all, Infested don't have shields. Grenier don't have shields. Only Corpus have shields in any noticeable fashion. So, when the Corpus with shields will take damage from a source that isn't you, that means that the explosion that you can cause with Shield Polarize is reduced. This means that any other teammate using a area of effect ability prior to your Shield Polarize will reduce or completely negate the damage you might be able to do with Shield Polarize, because shields don't have any armor to them. They are just flat HP buffers, and if you hit them, they are hit and they go down. And most Warframe abilities should be able to take at least a huge chunk out of shields if they hit, even at high levels. So the proper way to maximize your use of Shield Polarize is to go in first and Shield Polarize your enemies before they can get hit by anything else, including your own Sentinels, so watch out for that. One other thing you need to keep in mind, especially in Void, in Corpus and purely Corpus missions, not so much, but in Void you need to keep in mind that you have to have, in a cluster of enemies, you have to actually have Corpus corrupted enemies, because if you don't have Corpus corrupted enemies, Shield Polarize will do nothing, absolutely nothing. So there's a difficult balance to strike there. You need to first identify the cluster of enemies you want to affect with Shield Polarize. You need to identify that there are Corpus enemies in the cluster, sufficient Corpus enemies in the cluster to cause explosions, to destroy every enemy in the cluster, or at least most enemies. Then you need to get there first before they are damaged or affected by any other damaging skill, which is going to be difficult. And then everything goes boom and you are super happy, and the shields go into your shield buffer from shield transference. Now the explosions from Shield Polarize do not go through objects or enemies, so that adds an extra level of trickiness to getting this skill to go off properly. Also, nullifiers. Explosions won't go through nullifier shields, as far as I know. So you need to kill nullifiers first. Make sure your enemies are in a nice cluster for an explosion with Corpus enemies still alive in the cluster. Get there first before anyone else damages the enemies. Then you're happy and can blow up everyone. It has gotten very complicated to use Shield Polarize as opposed to how it was when I did my last mag build. Before nullifiers, and especially in just Corpus missions, in Corpus Endless Defense missions, you could just set yourself up wherever, and with the help of enemy radar or enemy sense, you could just see where the enemies were. If there was any cluster of enemies anywhere on the minimap, it was guaranteed to be a Corpus heavy cluster. You just cast Shield Polarize, everyone died. Now you don't really gain a benefit from enemy radar anymore for Shield Polarize. Why? Because there might be a nullifier in that group, and if there is, you just wasted your energy casting Shield Polarize and nobody is affected. So again, to get the most out of your Shield Polarize, kill nullifiers first. Make sure there are Corpus in the group. Make sure nobody damages the shielded enemies before you cast Shield Polarize. Cast Shield Polarize. no ... just profit. That's the way Shield Polarize works. And get a good feeling of the range that is affected by Shield Polarize. It has two ranges: explosion range for the depleted shield explosion, and effect range, the range in which it will pick out enemies to deplete shields from. One last tip for Shield Polarize: if you see a big cluster of enemies of Corpus, do not be too lazy to get closer. If you are just on the edge of the effect range for Shield Polarize, maybe just the leading enemies in the group will get affected. They will explode, sure, but the explosion might get stopped by enemies further along. And enemies at the back of the group won't get depleted because you are just at the edge of your range. So the explosion will just kill a couple of enemies and then nothing. Or even worse, you might just cast your explosion and have only maybe one of the shields explode, and maybe that's the one your friends have already been shooting at, and the explosion will suck, it will deplete the shields of the entire group, and then you just... nothing. Okay, that's about it for my Shield Polarize advice. Once you've Shield Polarized someone, crush them. Or just shoot him in the face. Bullet Attractor. Bullet Attractor is shit. Yet I recommend that you try and use it. Why is that? Well, an interesting tactic for Bullet Attractor has been revealed to me by someone on the Warframe forums a long while ago when I was first posting my builds up there. And that is the idea of using Bullet Attractor on an enemy and having that enemy act as a mobile absorb for enemy bullets, thereby shielding you from enemy bullet damage. This is very nice to cast on enemy heavies. It is more useful to cast when you are alone or defending a particular angle of attack alone with your allies in another angle of attack, because that way your enemies will shoot into your Bullet Attractor and you might not, or you might be casting something else or gearing up to cast something else like Shield Polarize. And if you cast Bullet Attractor on a heavy enemy like this to shield yourself and your friends are there, the heavy enemy will probably just vaporize under the complete 100% damage potential of your entire team going into the exact same spot. So that, again, it's a difficult balance to strike, and it seems like Mag is more effective when she doesn't have teammates screwing things up. But let's not be that way. So Bullet Attractor, you can shield yourself from damage if you cast it on an enemy, and then every enemy that is in the bubble or behind the bubble will try to shoot at you will instead shoot at that enemy. It's also incredibly fun, and if you didn't understand anything I just said about Bullet Attractor, if you are still skeptical about Bullet Attractor, like I said, slot Vitality instead, it's still good. Or take the complete power strength build, it's still good. This isn't a must-have skill, but it's really fun when you are in those high-level Tower 4 defense missions on those 30+ waves, 35+ waves, and there's a bombard. Okay, so there's a bombard, and you're gonna cast Bullet Attractor on them. They just shot you. Oh shit, they just shot you, but it's okay because you just cast Bullet Attractor on them, and their rocket turns around and hits them in the face, one-shotting them immediately. That is worth it. It's worth the mod slot just for that. It's so satisfying. So yeah, experiment with Bullet Attractor, see what you would like to do with it. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't work for you, then go with the alternate builds. It's fine, don't worry about it. Lastly, we have Crush. Crush has a decent range, decent, even more decent with the arcane coil mag helmet, which I believe that is the one I'm using, right? Yep. I heavily recommend getting an arcane coil mag helmet, and that stretch mod which we were looking at earlier. Crush gets a decent range, and it's very satisfying to use because of the animation, the way it works, and it's good to use after a shield polarize that doesn't kill everyone. It can pick off stragglers too in that situation, or even past the point where the damage no longer is relevant, or past the point where magnetic damage specifically is no longer relevant against the enemies you're dealing with, you can still use it as a sort of emergency crowd control. It's not a very good crowd control maneuver, but specifically because enemies coming into the area will no longer be affected. So it only affects enemies that are already in the area affected by the initial range. But for that purpose, for crowd controlling groups of enemies you already see, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You can make use of it that way. If not, just crush a few times and things usually die. One last thing I want to touch upon for mag is, like I said, I was going to talk a little bit more about shield transference. Now this is a tip for those of you who did bother to stick around this long. Congratulations. Mag with shield transference is vulnerable to enemy fire when knocked down. You are now a super elite pro knowing this information. I guess I should have said it earlier, but I guess I'm feeling mean today. When you are knocked down with mag, you are vulnerable to enemy fire even with the shield transference shield up. So do not get knocked down with mag, but in order to do that you can use a couple of tricks. First of all, the animation for Bullet Attractor is pretty long. Also, it has a side benefit of being kind of a defensive cast. Guess what? It's perfect for preventing a knockdown. You cast it to defend yourself against enemy bullets, and at the same time the animation itself will prevent you from being knocked down at the time. Same goes for Crush, unless I'm terribly mistaken, in which case I will make some annotations on the video. Look for them, they will be here if I'm mistaken. So do not get knocked down. If you are next to an enemy heavy and you just realize, oh shit, this guy is going to knock me down, that can kill you, because they will immediately start shooting at you, and they will shoot through the shield transference shield. Guaranteed. Almost. Most angles will go through the shield transference shield when you're knocked down. So try to avoid that knockdown position at almost any cost. Almost any cost. Almost any cost. Or try a front flip or whatever else method you want to use to avoid getting knocked down. Okay, that's about it. Sort of short. It's still gonna be 30 minutes. Regarding weapon synergies, again, because shield polarize is affected by the amount of shields that enemies actually have currently, it's not such a good idea to take syndicate weapons. It's not such a good idea because of the radial damage proc, which has a big range, which might deplete enemy shields and will lessen the effect of shield polarize. So consider not taking a syndicate weapon with mag. If anything, take the Cyanoid Gamma Core because energy, basically. Otherwise, no particular weapon or anything else synergies with mag. Mag is pretty straightforward, I say, after all that talking. So, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you if you watched the entire guide. I don't know if I will do a guide next week. If you're watching this later, then this information is irrelevant. But see the January and February potential hiccup warning if you're watching this recently. Okay? Okay. Thanks again for watching. This has been Rexer of the YouTube and the Twitch channel NotQuiteThereGaming, signing off.